the vibe, man. It's the vibe.
Let's transfer that right now.
Don't ever doubt the vibe. So yeah, on that note, Paul Faria, thank you for coming on to the Conscious Perspective podcast. This is an honor. We're just gonna see wherever the vibe takes us today. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling mellow. We're here. We're alive, and we're present. So,
Absolutely.
without further ado, let's get into it. I don't have anything specific that I lined up. I just, right off the bat, I'm just gonna go deep. What does Paul Faria live for? Like, what is your purpose here? What do you think you're doing here? Because you're a unique individual, and everybody has their own. It's called dharma. Their own work here. Everybody has their own work to do. What do you think your work here is to do?
That's a great question.
Have you pondered that?
All the time. Um, and first of all, thank you for having me. I'm super pumped, as we said before. But to jump into that, I think so. When I used to think of that question, it was kind of like I always built up this grandiose idea in my head, like you're meant to do something big. You can do something really big with your life,
Mm.
and you know, I always used to equate that with uh, like tangible things, like making a lot of money, being really successful, all this stuff. And as I've progressed asking that question, relentlessly pursuing that question, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Why am I here?
Mm.
What I've found is I really don't know. But as opposed, instead of not knowing and then rushing to try to figure that out and find pieces that make me feel more comfortable, instead of that discomfort of not knowing, I've just gotten a lot better at making space for the not
Mm.
knowing and
Mm-hmm.
being really comfortable being uncomfortable with that thought. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think you have to because it's not something that. I mean, I guess some people are blessed and born into like something, but most people, like, we live in a world that tells you from birth we're conditioned to not really go with our gut instinct or our heart and what we're supposed to do and what our actual work here is. Like, from birth we go to these internment camps, aka school, that tell us how to be, that tell us how to live and what we have to do when we grow up. And at 16 years old, we have to figure out what we want to do for the rest of our life when we just went through puberty yesterday. So it's tough to like get out of that indoctrination and to really find out what your real purpose is here for. So it's good that you recognize that that's a thing, because most people don't even know that they have that the capability of understanding what that is, like that, to create that space of, well, I don't know. But it's almost like you have a puzzle piece, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You have a puzzle piece, and you're looking for the piece to put in, but you just haven't found the correct piece yet, right?
Yeah. Well, what I would like to say to that, and I'd love to know if this resonates with you and makes sense at all. But what I've started to realize too, and especially, we talk about the journey of meditation and everything like that, was so especially like you being 16, 17, 18 years old and trying to think, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? First of all, you have no idea what's out there. At that point, you're here and your level of awareness is here, but really
Yeah.
there's all this,
Yeah.
right? So I think what's interesting is sometimes we have these questions like, oh, what do I want to do with myself? What do I want to go to college and study that I'm going to do for the rest of my life? We're only dealing with limited information. When you're talking about the puzzle piece, sometimes we just don't have that puzzle piece that's supposed to fit readily available to us yet.
Yeah, exactly. Hmm.
So how can you accept that? Like, how can you still move forward and still be at peace with not knowing and
Hmm.
acknowledge, hey, maybe I don't have the puzzle piece yet, but I have to trust that as I follow my gut, like you said, the thing that we're not really taught how to hone into and
Hmm.
do, how do I trust my gut and trust that those puzzle pieces are going to like coming and unfold each step I take. Does that
Yeah,
resonate?
yeah, exactly, dude. I think that's the first step, and that's the first. You have to trust the process. Like that's
Yeah.
the first step of the process is recognizing there's. Wait a second. There's something not right here. There's like, because that's how I felt. Like I felt like that. I don't know. Since I guess 16, like I said, like I felt like wait, there's just something. Like I don't want to be an accountant. You know, I don't want to drive a box truck or work in a factory or like there's something more like I don't know it's like a weird feeling that you can't shed. It's just I don't know if you have that feeling, but I've had that feeling where it's just like there's more to life than just making money, like you talked about in
Mm.
the beginning. There's more to life than just material possessions, but like we grow up in a world where like that's it. You know, you grow up, you get a house, you get a girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever. You get a you get a dog and a white picket fence, and that's the American dream. And but then I've always had that idea. I'm like, no, that's not my American dream. That's not really what's going to make me happy. Essentially, because that's what we're all here for, is to just be happy. I think, and if you go against the grain and people try to find happiness in something that's ultimately never going to make them happy, they're just going to live a whole life of just looking for happiness in the wrong places, and it ultimately lead to suffering. And that's I realized that I'm like, and then I was like, I have to make a change. Like I have to do something differently with my life to make myself happy. And doing stuff like this makes me happy. And doing yoga and meditation and finding out who we are deep down, and peeling back the layers of the human existence and just seeing what we really are deep down. That's what really makes me happy, and that's what resonates with me. But they don't tell you that in school. Like all that stuff, they don't. That's the thing. They don't tell you how to be happy in school. Like we're never taught. Like we're not taught mindfulness in school. That should be like number one. That should be part of the curriculum. We should be taught like maybe one. We don't have to do yoga, but like at least how to breathe and just still the mind, especially in today's world. We just have to learn how to be happy. Like what do you think makes you happy? What genuinely makes you happy? Not not like money or good food or sex or just like what genuinely, if you want to do something for the rest of your life, what makes you happy? Like just to be content.
Well, if I could indirectly veer off here for a second with
Mm-hmm.
what you just said, especially about school. I was watching, and I take this with a grain of salt because it's a movie, and who knows how things really are unless you see it for yourself. Whatever. But I'll
Mm-hmm.
just run with it. So I
Yeah.
watched. I think it was last year at this point. I watched that movie, The Last Samurai, with Tom
Uh-huh.
Cruise.
Yep.
Have you seen it?
Of course. Yeah. I haven't seen it
Okay.
in a long time, but yeah, I think I've watched it like twice.
All right. So here's this American, and gets kidnapped basically by the Japanese. I'm pretty sure it's the Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
and now he's basically living the life with the samurai and seeing how they live and being brought up in their tradition and coming up to all that. Well, what really blew my mind was there was a couple scenes where the children in the village um, were meditating, were not just training from a young age how to take care of the land and how to fight like a samurai, but they're meditating. They're sitting in the grass and they're feeling. And I started to think to myself, well, what if the way that like we grow up, what if the way that we see the world, what if the way that's so inundated within us of just little things like you feel pain as a child and then you don't know how to process it. Nobody really teaches you how to sit with your emotions. Nobody tells you how to feel.
Yeah.
We and things like, well, we put happiness on a pedestal, but we say that sadness isn't worthy of our emotions. So we start to prefer happiness over sadness. So when we feel sadness, we cast it out and say, I shouldn't feel like this to feel
Mm-hmm.
happy. Or when we feel upset, I shouldn't feel this. I need to feel happy, when really all those emotions, all of our emotions
Yeah.
have something to teach us.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, I see these children meditating like as samurai. I'm like, wait, what if our way here or how I grew up isn't the only way?
Mm-hmm.
Like there are other ways to approach this life,
Totally,
right?
dude.
And so then I wanted to ask you, like, as far as that goes, as you start to see some of that stuff, what things in your mind, what are some of like the biggest lies or some of like the biggest stories you've told yourself that you've had to either undo or challenge or question or unravel?
Hmm. That's a good one. That's a good one. I would have to say, like, the biggest thing, like you said before, material possessions. We don't, like, we obviously we need material. Like, I need this microphone and camera and everything, but
Right.
we take more than we need,
Mm.
and our Western society tells us the more you have, the happier you're gonna be. But it seems like the opposite. It seems like the more that people have, the more miserable they are. So that's a huge one that I had to unravel. And how to genuinely be happy as well. Like, that kind of like goes with the material possessions thing. It's like the biggest lie is that, like, the American way is the only way, and but it's not. Like you said, there's plenty of other cultures out there that are living, I wouldn't say luxurious lives, but they're living just lives of just, what's the word I'm looking for?
Alignment.
Yeah, exactly. They're aligned with what is the way. The way is
Mm.
the way, and that is, like, it's not that it was a lie, like the American culture is a lie because it's great. It's just that we were missing something, and we're missing the spiritual aspect of that, of who we are as human beings. Like, where everyone's just caught up in the media and Donald Trump, and who's got the bigger butt, Kim Kardashian or whoever, and it's just, we're just lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to find a way to become aligned. Like you said, I like that word. It's just align yourself into the way, into the heart, and that's ultimately what I'm trying to do here, and how do I try to live my life. And I think we have a long way to go, but we're
Yes.
getting there. We're getting
Yes.
there. It's a slow process. People are slowly waking up because they're realizing, "Man, something's not right here." Like, there's something. They're just like, I don't know what it is, but something's not right. And then we got everything going on with the corona, and the world is absolutely crazy, and people are finding out you're not gonna find happiness from this thing. You're gonna
Right.
find happiness from this thing right here.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's where the world is slowly going. But it's funny because if you pay attention to this thing, you're gonna you're gonna think the world's not going that way. But it's like yin and yang. It's like the more of one side, the more chaos and insanity the world is. On the other side is the more peace that people are finding. And I think that's just how the world works. That's just literally how our universe is set up. It's polar opposites. So,
Scary.
moral of the story is put this down for a little bit. Don't, use that very sparingly. It's a sickness. I think technology, if used correctly, is a beautiful thing. We have the encyclopedia of the entire human civilization at our fingertips. We can literally do whatever we want in this life. Like, I'm making a show right now, and like, I didn't go to school for a show. Like, I just bought these things. I said, you know what, I'm gonna make a show, and that's what I'm doing. And you can do whatever you want. You can learn to be whatever you want. I could learn how to do brain surgery if I really wanted to. Probably, I wouldn't recommend getting a surgery done by me, but I could probably pull it off somewhat. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't even remember my original point, is use technology to your advantage. But most people don't. Most people use it just to, we come home, go on Netflix, watch this, dumb video, and or
Mm.
watch cat videos online. But we have to realize where our values are and put our efforts into the right things. I don't even remember what the original thing that you asked me was. It was what's the fault, right,
Just the
in our
lies that
society?
or the stories that you've had to pull apart.
Yeah, the stories. What about for you? Can I ask you that?
Yeah. Well,
What's one?
this is the thing. And saying all that, I start to get really, 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 really excited because, like, when I think about like this shirt, for example,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy just to say the words question everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy just to say, it's easy to say anything, quite honestly. But when I think of question everything, I think there are truths, or like fundamental things that we think.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't question them, we don't realize how much things hold us back.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is like to build off of your um, technology analogy. The biggest, and maybe we'll get into this after, maybe we won't, but it has to do with meditation. The biggest thing I think that troubles us as people is we believe our thoughts.
Yes.
We think that we are one and the same with what goes on up here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because of that, we don't stop to think, wait, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
Where did that thought come from? Why do I think that? Is that actually true? We just assume because I thought it, because it feels so real up here,
Mm-hmm.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
I think
probably the
that's the
biggest lie.
100%, 100%. So when I think, I'm too fat or I'm not good enough or I get this or whatever it is, because that plays in our mind and it's so a part of who we are, right? And we feel something when we think it, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like that's the biggest thing I've had to unpeel is, well, there are things that I think and believe that hold my version of the world together. But what of those things is not me? What if it's years and years of uh, things I've accumulated to help me make sense of this world that we live in? But now it's really not true. It's really all subjective, you know?
Yep.
So I
It's
know
all
that's a really
subjective.
vague, broad answer, but that's like the path, it's a 10,000 foot view
Mm-hmm.
of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%, man. Because I don't even know. Like, I'm glad you actually brought that up because that is the biggest lie that we're told is that we are our thoughts and that
Mm-hmm.
anything that pops into our head is us. When
Right.
this is the truth of the matter is we're surrounded by so much just craziness, and that craziness is going to affect your thoughts, especially for really sensitive people. Like there's some people that are extremely sensitive, and if you don't check yourself, you're gonna wreck yourself. You know what I mean? Like there's there's just so much going on, man. Like there's just the world fucking crazy, and if you like, it really is. And if you realize, like, and from that craziness, you're gonna have these crazy thoughts pop into your head. And
Yeah.
if you identify with those thoughts and not the witness, you're gonna. That's why people are, that's why the world is crazy in itself because the peace in the sanctuary in the kingdom of heaven lies on the other side of those thoughts. It lies as residing as the witness because, like you said, we're not our thoughts and we can't control our mind. And once you that's a very profound statement because that's pretty much the essence of spiritual awakening is realizing that, wait a second, there's another layer to this. It's like I used to think everything was the mind. I used to be really logical and everything 1+1=2, but then I realized that, wait a second, no, there's something higher than that, and that's just simply being the witness to all of this. And then once you reside as the witness, you see how crazy this world is and how crazy this world can make you think. And I think it's honestly that mindset is just like I don't want to say it's like a medicine, but it's like it's therapeutic. Because like, I obviously still get lost in the sauce. I still get lost in bills and somebody cuts me off and I flip them off or something. And then it's good to have that sanctuary to always return to. It's like, oh, wait a second. No, I'm actually just here. This is just like, I see life as almost like it's somewhere between a cross between a movie and a game in a show. So sometimes I like to, like, I get lost in the show or I get lost in the game when I forget I'm actually playing the game, or
Right.
I'm watching the movie. I'm the audience at the same time, but I'm also I'm the movie, but I'm also the audience at the same time.
Right.
And that mindset is very therapeutic, man. It really is. It's something that it's like it's peace to know that like there is peace. Like if the real like the saying the kingdom of heaven is within is that idea is that we're all this infinite unbound consciousness that is experiencing itself in an infinite amount of ways throughout each individual that is here on earth, and nobody knows it. nobody knows that that's the truth, that we're all the same thing, this consciousness experiencing itself for I don't know what reason. I don't think anybody really knows the reason other than love, but it's the truth. But we're all caught a level below that of our thoughts. And when you're trapped in your thoughts, you're trapped in the separateness of what we are. Like you're because above that, the witness is the unity, right? So we have the unity. If we all are the witness, that means, oh, we're all the same thing. We're all just consciousness, different bands of consciousness. Well, we're all the same band of consciousness experiencing itself in different ways. But most people don't know there's another level. There's another switch to flip inside your head, like a television set, to go all the way up to that frequency. When most people are just trapped at that lower frequency. That's why when people say, that's why they call it getting high, man, because you're getting higher. You're elevating yourself. When you feel high, you feel connected, and people are trapped at a lower vibe. That's when they say, like, don't kill my vibe. But that is the vibe. It's like the real vibe is knowing that me and you, Paul, are literally the same thing. We might not look like the same thing, but we're the same energy frequency. And it's a beautiful concept, but it's just it's very difficult in the Western world to keep that in your head at all times. I don't even know if I'd be able to be sane if that was in my head at all times. Like, I'd always just want to hug everybody I see and just be like, oh man, it's me. Like, hey, you're me, man. You're me. Like, it'd just be like, you go crazy. But we need that. Like, the mind needs to play that game. Like, it needs to have that separation in order to play the game of life. But I think the problem is that we identify with that separation, and that's when we suffer. We identify with our thoughts, which is the separation, and that's why we suffer. When if we identified with the witness, if we always came back to the witness, if we all had the ability to come back to the witness, this world would be a better place. To know that we're all the same. Because do you realize that, like, if we're both the witness, that means me and you are the same thing. We're both that band witnessing each other in this very moment. It's a beautiful concept, but not everybody knows that. It's like that's the biggest lie, I think. It's a very profound thing. I don't know what it's gonna take for people to realize that, but it's the truth, man.
All right. And now that you say that too, I don't know if this is relevant, but this thought just kind of popped into my head. I remember, and maybe this is kind of what starts journey. Gee, I think I was 13 when I saw the movie The Secret.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first time it had ever really been framed up for me that how you think affects your reality.
Yep.
And it took me a few years to really be like, this is BS, into maybe there's something to this.
Mm-hmm.
What that did was it made me take ownership of my thoughts, which was cool. So
Yep.
that person sucks was a thought that would come up, and then I'd feel the energy. Oh, I don't want to really magnetize that general energy into my life. So let me think, I love this. And then that would change my energy. And I would think, okay, if I change my thoughts and my energy, it's going to change my life. And for the most part, it did. And it was great. Like, I felt I'm a very positive person and things like that. But what happens if you're not careful is, and Eckhart Tolle kind of talks about this, but the ego kind of slips through the back door in terms of, you think you're doing something or saying something that's all spiritual and all kind of just like all embracing and all love, but really the ego has come in and made it something that is now separation, as you mentioned before, where now it's like a thing that you have to aspire to. It's a thing that's outside of you that you have to get. Oh, there's this version of me that's positive and all love, but it's out here. I'm not there yet. And there's just an illusion of a gap between where you want to be, who you see yourself being, and who you think you are right now. And that gap, perceived gap, creates suffering, where it's like, oh, I'm not this, I don't have this yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not good enough as I presently am.
Mm.
And so I don't know where like I was going with that, but it just kind of felt like with what you were saying about this interconnectedness, it isn't about if I can get this thing or get that thing, I can manipulate my thoughts to get that money or to get that job. It's
Mm.
about understanding that in this moment, I am presently connected to every possible reality, every possible person, every possible lesson that I could ever need to know
Yeah.
is already here in this moment. And the more my mind makes it a thing of I'm not there yet or I have to get there, it just rips it all apart, sees separateness, you different from me. So now I want to kill you and hurt you because you did something to me and we're separate.
Mm-hmm.
But if I see you and we're one, it's like I don't want to go out of my way to cut off my arm. I wouldn't want to go out of my way to hurt you because you're an extension of me.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly,
So
man. It's it really, and it just comes down to, is the most cliche thing to say, is just being in the moment and just knowing that people think, I think it's a thing where you're not, people think you're not planning for the future if you live in the moment, but it's actually the opposite. It's like being in the moment is actually planning for your future, because if you're constantly looking into the future, then you're not doing a good job being planning for that now. Like, you actually have to be here now in order to be where you want to be in the future. But if you're like you said, constantly looking to be like, oh, maybe in 10 years I'll be there, or I'll be, or 5 years when I get this, or when this happens then I'll be happy. It's like, no, you be happy now in the situation that you're in now, and that allows you to have a better future that you can manifest for, that you want in this
yes,
moment. That's how it goes, man.
yes,
And I believe that too. I think, I think The Secret is, the movie's great. I think the idea and the premise is great. It's a little corny sometimes. Like, I've watched it, I'm just like, oh, it's kind of like cringy, but the premise and idea is there. Like, you can literally, man, do whatever you want in this life. It's a beautiful gift. Like, we were born in 2020. We have this technology. We're born in America, which is, it's, some would say it's a curse, but I think it's a blessing depending on, what your outlook is. And we can take life by the balls and do whatever you want, man. Like, you don't have to, like, yeah, we all have to make money. We all have to survive. That's just how it goes. We all have to do what we have to do in order to get through the day. But if you are present in what you're doing, and you know that you have like a, um you have something like light at the end of the tunnel type stuff, or like you have a goal in mind, and you sit with that, you can do it, man. Like, anybody can do that, but people just settle and they say, oh, when I make X amount of money, or when I got the Tesla, I'll be happy. And it's not like that, man. Happiness is now, and just you can be happy being unsatisfied with life, if that makes sense. Like, you can be happy and trust the process, and knowing that the journey is the destination. And then eventually you'll be at that point where you want to be, and you have that Tesla or the Lambo or something like that. If you know that, if you focus on your thoughts now, you focus on the good things, and you try to transmutate your thoughts into where you want to be. And that starts right here, right now, man. Like, right now, you can design a life that you want to do. And like you said, you don't really know what your purpose is, I guess, or you're trying to still find the puzzle piece. You What it really comes down to is all of us decide what that puzzle piece is, I think. Like, it is to a certain extent. Some may say it's like from the divine creator or something like that, but it's something that you also cultivate. Like, it's something that, it's, whatever you find enjoyment in, you create that. It's not really, it does come to you, but you're the one that creates it. So we all create our own reality. It's true, man. It's an awesome phenomenon, and people don't know that. It's crazy, man. Everybody, that's why I call this show the conscious perspective, because if you're unconscious, you can't manifest. But when you're conscious and you're awake to the, I guess it's like the rules of life, or like the laws of how this life works, then you can live the life of your dreams, and you can do whatever you want. Like, I'm living the life of my dreams right now. I'm not rich, but I'm rich in the heart. And that's really all that matters. Like, I think this is awesome. I wouldn't want to be anybody else. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. And with that mindset, anything is possible. And you should have that too, man.
Yeah,
You really
and I
should. There's only
appreciate you
one.
saying that. I appreciate you saying that because for a long time, one of my biggest, even now, one of my biggest roadblocks, and this is going to sound so, it's always sounds so stupid when I say it out loud, but the biggest roadblock is giving myself permission to be happy right now. And it's like, well, why do you need permission for that?
Mm-hmm.
And I just, the thing, so we talk about like evolution and of our mind and who we are and questioning. And I think for a point, especially when we first met, you and I, back in high school, 17, 18 and stuff, was like, okay, my idea was that happiness was a life without problems. And the way to get to that was to make a lot of money. So I gravitated toward sales and sales oriented
Yep.
things. And, you're just getting fed like school is stupid and bad. Jobs are stupid and bad. You need to idealize being rich, having all this money, having multiple houses, having the nicest cars. And I was like, okay, we're thinking big, right? That to me was thinking big. Having all these material possessions, to me, what wealth and the abundance that we can feel was how many houses you have, how many cars you have, the money in the bank, all this stuff, right? So then you chase that for a really long time. And you're like, oh, if I could just, it's like right here, if I could just get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew people that had, in college, I knew people that they were like 22 years old and the company was paying for their lease and their BMW. And, they were traveling all over the country and making all this money. And then one thing led to another and the company went down. They were stuck with these like really high lease payments that they couldn't afford because they didn't have the income for it. And to me, it was just like, that was this big house of cards that just collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
And we were always taught, don't be content with your current situation, because if you're content, then you're going to become complacent and you're never going to strive for more. All that really did was create perpetual suffering, because all it did was feed the story that what I have right now is never going to be good enough.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Like,
it's the opposite.
Right. Like, my life is not going to be good enough until I make $100,000 a year. And then when I do that and I have that income, well, it's part of my psyche to not be content with what I have so that I can keep growing. So now I got to make 500,000 or I'm not going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost like counterintuitive to really like who you are right now.
Yeah.
Really like where you're at right now.
Yep.
And like you said before, that peace, because it almost feels peaceful to be like, this is good, instead of like, I always need to get somewhere. But like when you're like,
mm-hmm.
I like this opens doors to things that, doesn't matter how creative you are, man, there are things that you just can't see.
Yeah.
This opens doors to all that shit coming in that you wouldn't have seen otherwise, Yeah.
It's self-love. That's what it is. You gotta love all your faults, all the things that you think make you inadequate. It's fine. Everybody has, shit they go through. Everybody has their faults and flaws.
Yep.
But you have to appreciate that and know that's just part of the process. We're all human beings, And once you come to terms with that, it's okay. Like, happiness lies beyond our thoughts. Like you said, you stop thinking about like, woe is me. And you stop thinking, well, not even stop thinking. It's like, you can't just stop thinking. It's more of just like, just sit with it. It's okay to feel inadequate sometimes. It's okay to feel like, like you're not there yet, but don't identify with it. Don't get lost in it and just say, oh, that's there. I'm not gonna dwell on that. Just, it's okay to feel like that. That's something telling yourself something in your mind, but it's when people identify with that and they say, I am depressed, or I am anxious, or I am not good enough, or like that. When you identify and literally say those words, because like The Secret says, words have power, and you say that in your head, you're giving power to things that don't serve you. So when you note it and you say, oh, that is there, that's meditation. You note that, but then you say, but you turn it around, you transmutate that energy. Like, say you are depressed, you say, I felt better, or yeah, pretty much stuff like that. You take what it is, but you don't say, I don't identify as I feel like shit. You say, oh, I felt better, or I can do better, or tomorrow's another day. And that's pretty much positivity, and that's manifestation. It's because this world is, like I said, it's full of negativity. Don't identify with that negativity, bro. That's just what it comes down to.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
What came up in that moment when you said that was, I guess I'll just cut straight to the question instead of trying to give context for it. But I thought, what if you played around for a second and suspended all your ideas about what it means to be a good person, bad person? What if feeling inadequate was okay? Just what if? What if? What? Yeah, exactly. What if it was okay to just feel how you feel? Where does this need, when something comes up in our body that we don't like, where does this need to either change it, or to feel guilty about it, or to make a story out of it, come from? Where is the issue in just
sitting with it and just being there, present with it?
Yeah.
It's because comparisons, people identify, they want to see something else. They don't identify with themselves, like, because it's okay to feel that, but we sometimes feel like it's not okay to feel inadequate. Because I feel like, probably Bill Gates probably feels inadequate sometimes, or someone with a lot of money and power, and it's okay to have those feelings. Like, we're all human. That's the full spectrum of humanity in the human mind, is to feel that. And so you think a lot of problems stem from not feeling okay with our what comes up in our head, like what these negative thoughts and feelings that come up, like people, like it actually makes it worse to like resist it.
Yeah, so an analogy that came to me, and this was probably a couple years ago at this point, was what if thoughts that we think don't necessarily come from our head. So like, how I compared it was this: when we're sitting in the car and we're listening to the radio, all that is a frequency that the car's antenna is getting from some satellite. It's a frequency, 92 Pro FM, Fun 107, Kiss 108, right? And we're tuned into a channel. Now, depending on the channel is going to depend on what kind of music you hear, right? So if you're on 92 Pro FM versus 94.5 or 94.1, you're going to hear different music, right?
Yep.
So the music is inherent to the channel. The music is inherent to the frequency. Now, anytime we're driving in the car, listening to the radio, listening to 92.3, and a song comes on that we don't like, we don't freak out, flip out, or try to change the song, or try to reach into the radio and change the words or change the melody, whatever. All we do, just change the channel.
Yeah.
And then we get a new song, right? So what if we're like that, where our soul or our body or our emotion is just an antenna, and depending on our vibration and our frequency, we're opening the portal or access to different thoughts that are in alignment with that frequency, and the way of seeing the world that's in alignment with that frequency. And instead of getting obsessed, so maybe we're in a low vibration, right? And we're getting thoughts of, I don't like self, or I'm this, or I'm that, I'm not good at this or that. And those thoughts come in. Well, we take those thoughts so personally. Like we think that that's actually us,
Yep.
instead of just saying, oh, this is just a song on this radio station. And if I can just understand that I can change the radio station anytime I want, let me just change the channel. And now we vibrate. And now,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm really good. I can do anything I want to do. Like, you know, now access to those thoughts. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just, what if we don't have to take our thoughts so personally? Just like we don't take the song that's playing on the radio that personally, we just change the frequency. Like
Yep.
that's what we have to tune into. What do you think of that?
I think that's a perfect analogy because I actually believe that's kind of what we are. And the more you resist, and the more you dwell on on that horrible song that you're hearing, the
Mm,
worse it gets, right? But when
yeah,
if you, it's just a switch, it's just a simple switch of the dial, and then you don't have to hear that anymore. It
right,
might still be on that other station and it's still playing, but you're not even hearing it. You're not even paying attention to it, and that's exactly how I see the human mind, man. Because we're taking in all this energy. You just have to choose what to pay attention to. But I think the
right,
problem is most people don't know how to change the dial. They don't know that you can even change. They don't even know where the dial is, how to change the dial, how it works, or like they don't even know that's a thing. But once you learn that you can, we all have the power to change that dial. It's a very liberating concept because that's how you manifest. Getting back to manifestation, that's how you manifest your reality, is by the frequency and vibe that you choose to take in, and then from there you get more of the same energies, and it brings I like to see it as like a domino effect. Like good energy brings more good energy. You know what I mean? Like if you're constantly vibrating at that frequency, you're gonna attract people that are also on that frequency, and then you're gonna attract other people and situations on that same frequency, and it's a snowball effect. But
right.
first, you have to be able to learn how to switch that dial, and
Yes,
switching that dial is starts with silencing your mind and just being able to just sit there with your thoughts, sit silently, and being able to see that song come in, see that horrible song come in. And once you see that come in, you're like, wait a second, why is that there? Why? Wait, let me just go. And oh, happiness. I'm happy to be here. This is amazing. This is life. This is a miracle. But then you can go back to like, oh, woe is me. This sucks. I gotta go to work tomorrow. My stomach hurts. But you can go, no, it's okay to my stomach hurts. It's part of the process. I'm human. This is like, it's honestly, dude, that is a perfect analogy. And it's it's a thing that society needs to open up to, man. Like a lot of like I just, I hate to get lost in the sauce and talk about like the world, but the world it's lost, dude. Like everybody is lost. They don't know that we have this power. It's like a power. It's like a Jedi mind trick, to be able. It's like being able to like being able to like it is. It's almost like magic in a way. It's like using the force to your advantage. To just go, oh, new energy, and it's awesome, dude, because it's the power of knowing that no matter what happens in your life, you know, my leg could be gone tomorrow, or I can lose an eye. No matter what happens, there's always that flip of the switch where you can come to peace, and that flip of the switch is always there. That sanctuary, that peace is always there. It's been there before we were born. It's gonna be there after we die, but it's here right now, and that's the most important thing. And if we can resonate on that frequency, this world would be a better place.
yes. And if I could just add to the whole notion of flipping that switch with meditation, I think one of the things, how do I say this? So my first foray into meditation, I was probably 17 years old, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I thought meditation was all these things for my mind to do. What I mean by
Mm-hmm.
that is, I remember going into my room and I had like incense candle lit, sitting on the floor, cross-legged, and just trying to make this whole thing about it. And I actually think the first time I did it, I was trying to like things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying all these techniques and tactics and stuff. And I remember I had my eyes closed. I'm like, okay, the whole point here is to clear my mind. The whole point is to, right? So I'd be like this, and then a thought would come up, and like, shit, don't think
Mm.
a thought, don't think a thought. you know,
Yeah.
and I'm like trying. And I think that's a misconception about meditation, is that like it's work. It's something for
Mhm.
us to do. What changed, what really, this is not an overstatement. What changed my life completely was the first time, and this was a couple years ago. I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit in complete silence for 10 minutes. And this time, I'm not gonna do anything fancy. I'm not gonna just gonna sit for 10 minutes and see what the hell happens. And I took all of the fancy work out of it. I sat down and I tried putting it off. I was like, no, there's other things you need to be doing. You need to be focusing on, you know, getting rich, or you're doing something. I'm like, no, I'm just going to do this. So I sit down on the living room couch and I sit there with my eyes closed. And as soon as my eyes close, my mind starts freaking out, like freaking out. Like, you can't do this for 10 minutes. 10 minutes is way too long. I had it on my phone. How long has it been? 30 seconds? Oh my God, you have to do this for another 9.5 minutes. Oh my God, there's so many other things. You got to go wash the dishes. You got to make lunch. You can't do this right now. Why are you doing this? This is such a waste
Mhm.
of time. What do you know, boom, 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 boom. Open your eyes, open your eyes, open your eyes, open your eyes. And the first few times I did it, I open my eyes, I look at my phone, 20 seconds, I go, but the point I'm trying to make here is, if you just stop resisting, like just
Mm.
open your eyes, and you can just listen to it. Like there is no difference. There is no difference between thinking the sky is blue and I'm extremely fat. It's both just words.
Mhm.
The only difference is we attach certain meanings to different things.
Yep.
So when we just sit, let the thoughts come, let the anxiety come, let that energy, and make a commitment to just say, whatever comes, I'm going to feel it. I'm going to honor it. I'm going to feel it all throughout my body. But we
Mhm.
just sit with it. It'll take care of itself, dude. Like it'll
Exactly.
pass itself. We don't have to do anything.
Mhm.
Like it just wants to be heard,
Mhm.
you know?
That's what the mind is. It just wants to be heard. It's like
Yeah.
a needy it's a needy friend. It just wants, it just wants some attention.
Yes. So I don't know why I brought that up. Oh, because of the chaos all around us and just identifying with it. It's just like, if we just, it's like taking, have you ever taken a cold shower?
Yeah, I just did.
Okay, great. So you get in the shower, you turn on the shower. If it's a warm shower, you're like, oh man, I can stay here all day. When it's a
Mhm.
cold shower, you feel it with your toe. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, you freak out. But
Mhm.
you realize, like, okay, my foot's here really cold. If you just let it come over you, you start to realize, wait, there was nothing for me to freak out at. There's nothing for me to run from. This actually feels really good.
Yeah,
You
for
know?
real. Are you an avid cold shower fan?
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, man.
Love
Like
it.
it's tough like in February and March in New England,
Mm-hmm.
but there's just something invigorating about it. And it
Yes.
is like people it is a meditation. Like people have been doing that, like, monks have been Himalayan monks, and I don't even know where it came from, to be honest, but like it is an ancient thing to do, where just like you plunge yourself in the cold, and I don't know what it does biologically, but I know there's something to it, because I come out of that shower, I'm just like like, you could be, say you have like a shitty day, like you're at work or just someone cut you off or whatever, just like you go in the cold shower, it's like a reset. It's just like boom, it's like quick meditation all of a sudden. It's great.
Yes.
And it's like it's I see meditation as like a thing of like it's like exercise for your mind in a way. It's like, you do curls for your biceps, but you do meditation for your mind. And I think cold shower plays into that, because if the goal of meditation is to simply witness these crazy ass thoughts and sit with them, one of the craziest things and craziest thoughts you can, or sensations you can feel, is a cold shower. And if you can sit with that, if you can just fully just be there in that, you want to get out, and you can easily get out. You can easily just step out or turn the dial. But if you just have enough willpower to just sit there and be present with the cold water, it's very powerful. It's a powerful lesson to train your mind to into the real world, where you're like, well, I just took a cold shower today. That's probably one of the worst things I'm gonna do. So like whatever happens today, it really doesn't matter. And it really is, dude. You know Wim Hof? Have you ever heard of
Yeah,
Wim Hof? He's
yeah.
the man, and that's
He's
pretty
a
much
man.
where I got it from, dude. He is the
Yep.
man. Like he is the epitome of that whole ideology of like it's a concept in yoga. It's called tapasya. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's pretty much the concept of putting yourself through shit and suffering so that you're more, I guess, aligned with suffering, and you know what suffering is. So when it comes out of your not out of your own will, you're more comfortable with it, I guess you could say, or you're like it's okay. Like it's like it's self-inflicted suffering so that you can ease your mind to the non-self-inflicted suffering, essentially, because that's what that's the first it's one of the noble truths of Buddhism, is that life is suffering. That's the first noble truth, is that we're going to go through shit, essentially, in this life. Like it's you can't you can't avoid it, and the only way you avoid it is if you sit with that suffering. But you have to train yourself to sit with that suffering. Like we're gonna get sick. We're all, we're gonna hurt ourselves, or the people that we know, unfortunately, are gonna die. We're gonna die. We're gonna get old, and there's just things that are gonna happen to us. But if we prepare ourselves for that, and that suffering that happens, you're going to be able to live a happy life. And that's coming back to the whole happiness thing. It's like a game, man. Like our mind is like a game, and you have to know how to play the game, or else it's gonna play you. Your mind will play you unless you know how to play it. And the first step is realizing that it's kind of ironic, but this is the yin and yang of it. Is that it's realizing that this life is kind of shitty, and it can be shitty. But if you're okay with it being shitty, and you're fine with the shittiness of it, then is it really so shitty? Like if you come to terms with the suffering, and knowing how bad it can be, then is it really that bad? It's the yin and the yang. It's the polarity of it, and that's the cold shower. It's like you're self-inflicting yourself to shit. So is it really that shitty? Like you're doing it yourself. Like, you know what I mean? You're self-inflicting this tapasya on yourself. So is it really that bad?
Right.
I don't think so. It's not that bad. It's really not.
How much of the
Uh,
shittiness is actual shittiness, and how much is it our our mind is making an illusion or construct about something? You know.
what do you mean by actual shittiness? Like, I don't think any of it is. I
Right.
think it's all perfect. It's going according to plan.
Mm.
But it's all perspective. Like
Right.
it's easy for me to say that now, but like if I saw somebody, like if like if somebody that I love was going through some shit and got sick, and or they died tomorrow, I wouldn't give you the answer and say it's all perfect. But the truth of it is, like the deep aspect of it is that it really is, like that's just the process. Like it's all perfect, man. Like it's hard to say in the moment when shitty things are happening, but I think I really do believe this, all of our suffering is self-inflicted, and it comes from the mind. When you like I said, if you can come to terms with your own suffering in your own life, is your own shitty aspects of your own life, then nothing can hurt you, and it's fine. And I'm not perfect. I'm not enlightened like that. I'm not saying I live in that virtue, but it's a good ideal to try to strive for, to be at that point where like nothing can harm you, and no matter what happens, like I'm at peace. Like I'm not that, I'm not the Buddha, or like some kind of sage that meditates in the Himalayan cave or something like that. But I'm saying is that that is a great ideal to have, and there are beings that have been on this earth that have that. But it's just something good to strive to. And yeah, I'm not. I still get mad when I stub my toe or something, or you know what I mean, or I burn my finger or something, or I'm not perfect, but it's like, you know what I mean. It's the idea. That's the first step. Is if you have that idea. Do you know any like Buddhism in Eastern philosophy and yogic philosophy? Because that's pretty much what it comes down to. It's like that whole idea of it's all self-inflicted, man. Like it's happiness is attainable, with it's all within. And it's do you believe in reincarnation?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I think it's a good concept, and it's a, that's like deep rooted into Eastern philosophy. Like that is a thing. Like they just take that as like, yeah, I've had millions of lives before. I'm probably gonna be born after this. Like we haven't grown up with that idea, but like I think it'd be different if we grew up in that idea. And it's a very interesting topic of like we hold our karma from past generations, and everything that we do in this life is going to transfer into the next life. And I don't know where I'm going with that, but but it's an interesting topic to really touch upon. And it's like I don't know. I don't know. Do you what do you say in your heart? Like, do you think it's a thing?
In my heart doesn't even want to answer that question directly or specifically. My heart wants to speak to something else you said.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And it's about that, like when you asked me about being familiar with like the Buddha and those Eastern teachings, what immediately came to mind, especially when we talk about enlightenment, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of funny. I'm excited to hear what you have to say about this.
Okay.
Um, from a certain point of view, I think, and what we talked about before with like the mind or the ego, I should say, creeping in the back door, where it's like we our mind from our point of view, we perceive enlightenment as something out here that we need to get to, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a creative way for the ego to say, well, you're not there yet. And
Yeah.
then we start that whole cycle of suffering all over again, where the thing you really think you need and want is outside of you and blah, blah, blah. So when I think about those Eastern teachings, when I think about the Buddha, when I think about quotes and things like that, I'm thinking about the point of view that I'm trying to understand the words from instead of what they're actually trying to say. So, for example, this book that I have that I, for some reason, have not been able to get rid of, it's called The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And in the book, he talks about how basically our conscious mind, our thoughts, feed instructions to our subconscious mind, which is everything that we're connected to. So if I think, why am I always sick? Why am I always sick? Why am I always sick? The subconscious mind takes that and just perpetuates that in your reality all around you. So when I was 18 and my sole purpose in life was to become rich, I thought to myself, how can I manipulate this knowledge to create the things that I think are important, that I think means being happy now? But when I read it now, I get something completely different from it. I realize that everything that he's saying in the book isn't meant to cater to our ego and our thinking mind. It's meant to speak to that part of our soul that already understands the presence, already understands the connectivity. It's not a technique or a tactic for getting something outside of us. I used to think that, like, I'm trying to get rich and he's giving me tactics that I can use to pull something from out here in here. And it never worked. And now it's like, it's already here. It's already here. It's already here. It's already here. So when I think about the Buddha, it's very easy to think about it from an ego point of view of like, this is what enlightenment looks like, and romanticize it and paint this picture of it. But that's just taking us further away from what the Buddha's trying to say in the first place.
Exactly. It's like an ego trap, man. It really
Yes.
is.
Yes.
There's only so much you can do with words. That's the ironic thing about it. Is if you're not looking at those words and the messages in the correct manner, in the right viewpoint, it's going to take you actually further away. And that's the most ironic thing. It's like, you can say that about this conversation, really.
Yes.
If people look at this conversation in the wrong way. But I like what you said, we already know that. Like our soul already knows that. Like
Yes.
that's a thing. I've read that, I don't know where, is that somebody said that we're already all enlightened. And
Yes.
we just, it's almost like we trick ourselves into not knowing that. But what would you,
Yes.
how would you, not that you can really put words on it,
Hmm.
but how would you try to uh, describe what that is? What is enlightenment?
Wow.
It might be different for everybody too. Like it might be different for you and it might be different for me. But if you could come to a collective description of what that means to be an enlightened being, like how would you say that?
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything, man. It mean
Exactly.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't, dude. Like that's the thing is like
Mm.
we think certain pursuits are more righteous than other pursuits. So my pursuit of becoming an enlightened being is more righteous than my colleague's pursuit of becoming the best movie director or salesperson or executive or whatever because I'm
Yeah.
pursuing something that like enlightened. That's just the ego again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like we can't. It's bullshit. It's
Yeah.
bullshit.
So there's no,
Bullshit.
you just, there is no description of what enlightenment is. It's more
No.
of just like, I think it's just getting lost in the ebb and flow of your own life. It's kind of just like, there is no like yeah, you're right. There is no ideal Buddha or guru that is going to, that you
Yes,
should try to be.
exactly.
It's like you be your own guru, you be your own Buddha, and
Yep.
live your own life.
Yep.
And you figure that out, and that goes beyond anything that I could ever say or you could ever say. It's just all you got to do, man. Like we said, still the mind.
Well, that's why I think like the whole premise of question everything is so important because I think like if there was something that I wish I could have been taught, that somebody could have just taught me that I could have just gotten from from the jump, like from point one. It's this like question everything, not from a cynical standpoint. That's not what I'm talking about. But like, think about it, dude. When you even realize fundamentally, just like the English language is constructed in such a way that literally when we think in terms of English, we see the world completely differently than
Yeah.
somebody that speaks another language.
Mm-hmm.
So I think English is, and I forget where I read this. English is one of the top, maybe English and Russian. I'm not really sure. Top languages that we rely heavily on talking about the past and the future
Mm.
and speaking in negatives, whereas a language like Chinese speaks in present terms. So it is done, whereas say it will get done,
That's
things like
interesting.
that. So
That, yeah.
if we just the fundamental way we think is affecting our relationship to everything around. If we could just understand to just the assumptions we have, man, just like the I can't explain it. That
Mm.
would be the thing. Question all that shit. Seriously.
Mm. And it's like, but question it not with your ego. Question it
Thank
with
you.
your heart and your soul.
Yes.
It's like sit
Yes.
with that. Don't say what is that? You just like sit with it, and that's
Yes.
how you question it.
Yes. Let
It's
the
almost
question
like,
drive you deeper.
yeah, exactly, man. And it's almost like our mind and our bodies. It's like some kind of prison in a way. It's just it keeps us. It is only because we don't use it in the right way, and we have to like free ourselves of that prison on our own accord. It's crazy, man. And we're both young people, and it's awesome that we came to that realization at such a young age because, like if we realize that at 60, I'd be like, holy shit, dude, like all my life I've lived this and I've been so lost. It is very liberating, man. It really is. It's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's true, man. Just question, but question with your soul.
If
Um,
something go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I don't even know where to go from here. What were you gonna say? Should we just end it there?
Just do it, dude.
All right, man. I like. I think this was a very, very insightful conversation that we had. I'd love to do it again. Uh, I don't even know if there is anything else to say, if there is any conclusion. I think the only conclusion is that there is no conclusion. That's what we've come to. Paul Faria, thank you very much, man. It was an honor. It was an awesome time. Like I said, I would love to do this again. This was great. I feel like I've grown from this conversation, and yeah, I'm just gonna let it sit. I'm gonna let it sit right here, and go find a nice quiet place and close my eyes and see what happens on the other side.
Yeah, I can feel
Thanks,
my
man.
mind. I can feel my mind being attached to wanting to do something with it. But like you said, it's just be okay with that. You know.
Yeah, just let it sit, man.
Thank
Definitely
you,
do this
Gary.
again.
This is great.
Thanks, man. It was an honor.
Yes, sir.
Namaste.
All
Peace, bro.
right. Peace out, dude.